All right, today we are going to tackle a huge idea in economics, one you've probably heard a million times, the idea that the market is this perfect self-running machine. We're going to deconstruct that concept and then explore a much more complex and honestly a much more human alternative. So this is the metaphor, right? The market is a machine. You hear it all the time, especially in an intro to economics class. It's often presented as this perfect self-correcting system. And, it's a really neat idea. It's efficient, it's clean, and it seems like it can just run all by itself. But is it really? Is that really what's going on? I mean, think about the economy we actually live in. With all of its booms and busts, its inequalities, and its crazy innovations, is that really just a simple self-regulating machine? To really dig into that question, we first have to get a handle on what this idea even means. So, what are we actually saying when we view the market as a machine? What are the gears that are supposed to make it work so perfectly? Okay, so in this view, the market is this amazing system that just works. It takes in all this information, like what you and I want to buy, what companies can make, and it spits out these super efficient outcomes, all on its own. The metaphor suggests the market acts almost like a law of physics, this automatic force that just finds its own balance. Now, this whole machine idea isn't just something somebody made up. It's actually built on three core assumptions about how people and the system itself behave. This is the model you'll find in like the first chapter of a ton of economics textbooks. First up, the gears of this machine are, well, they're us, but a very specific version of us. In this model, we're all considered rational actors. That basically means everyone is assumed to be perfectly logical and only motivated by their own self-interest. You're always trying to maximize your own benefit, whether that's personal satisfaction, or utility if you're a consumer, or just straight up profit if you're a business. Okay, assumption number two, the machine regulates itself. This is the classic invisible hand idea you've probably heard about. The thinking goes, if you just leave the market alone, the forces of supply and demand will automatically find the perfect price for everything and create the best possible outcomes for everybody, no outside help needed. And third, the machine is totally neutral. Its results, who gets rich, who stays poor, are seen as these objective outcomes based purely on how useful or productive you are. In this view, big questions about fairness or ethics, well, they aren't really considered part of the economic equation. But what if this whole model is missing, well, pretty much the whole picture? This is where thinkers like Nilsson come in, offering a really powerful challenge to this mechanical view of our modern capitalist economy. So when you put these two worldviews side by side like this, the contrast is just, wow, it's stark. The machine view says outcomes are neutral, right? But Nelson argues, no, they reflect existing power dynamics. The machine view says social context doesn't matter. Nelson says, are you kidding me? Markets literally depend on stuff like trust, culture, and laws to even exist. And maybe my favorite, where the machine model calls pollution a side effect, this new view says, no, that's a flaw in the system's design. It is a completely different way of seeing things. So, okay, if we throw out the machine metaphor, what are we left with? If the economy isn't this natural, self-running system that just exists out there, then what on earth is it? Well, this brings us to Nelson's big idea, the embedded economy perspective. And the core concept here is that markets are not these external forces of nature. They are social institutions. They're complex systems designed by humans, for humans, and they are deeply, deeply woven into the fabric of our society. And this gets to the absolute heart of the matter. Economic activity doesn't just happen in some kind of vacuum. It is embedded in our social lives. It's shaped by our values, our traditions, and, of course, the physical limits of our planet. The market isn't separate from society. It is a part of society. We can actually break this down into three key areas. First, markets are ethically embedded. I mean, they just can't function without basic trust between buyers and sellers. Second, they're culturally embedded, shaped by social norms and what our communities decide is acceptable. And finally, they're ecologically embedded. They are 100% dependent on the natural world for resources and for a place to put waste. You simply can't separate the economy from these human and natural realities. So, what does this all mean for us? This shift from seeing the economy as a machine to a social institution, it's not just some academic debate. It fundamentally changes how we see our own role in the economy. It really leads us to a human-centered approach. And here's the crucial point, the big takeaway. If markets aren't natural, that means they are a choice. We built them. The rules, the priorities, the outcomes, they are all the result of decisions made by people over time. And that means we are responsible for those outcomes, whether it's soaring inequality or massive environmental damage. And think about all the ways we shape our economies. We do it through politics, laws, taxes, regulations. We do it through our cultural values, what we prioritize, like competition versus cooperation. We shape it through history, as major crises and social movements totally change the rules of the game. And most importantly, we shape it through human agency. That's your power and my power to push for change. This quote, which sums up Nelson's views so well, really gets to the heart of this human-centered approach. It completely reframes the whole purpose of the economy. It's not about maximizing some abstract number like GDP. It's about creating a system that actually allows people and their communities to thrive. So this leaves us with a final and pretty powerful question. If our economic systems are not these inevitable forces of nature, but are actually products of our collective choices, well, then the power is in our hands. The question isn't what will the market do next? The real question is, what kind of world do we want to build?